I'm Amy from Doodle Dog Designs, and today I'm going to be talking punch needle. I have this punch needle project that I have finished, and I have pressed the empty edges of the weaver's cloth to the back. I did press the corners in first, and then the edges. And now I want to turn it into a piece that I can hang on a cabinet knob or maybe a skeleton key on a cabinet. So I'm going to add a wool backing, and then I'm going to add some crinkly ribbon, one of these two probably, to make a little hanger. So I've got some felted wool here. This is a cream colored, so I'm just going to place it right on the edge. I'm going to cut the other two sides. So I'm going to angle my scissors just a little bit. I want to cut it just a little bit wider than the punch needle project. I might end up having to trim a little bit off as I go. I think I probably will. But I'm going to wait to trim it until I get started, and then we'll see how much I need to trim. You can always trim some off later. You can't add it back on. So I'm using a cream thread. You want to use a thread that matches your backing fabric. Now, if you didn't want to use a felted wool, you could use some cotton fabric, and then you could fold it under before you sew it together. So I've got a knot in the end of my thread, and I'm going to start in the middle on the bottom here. And I'm just going to go underneath here, so my knot will be on the inside, and I'm going to come out right at the fold there that I have ironed. And then I'm going to hold back the punched loops, and so my thread is coming up right in here, and I'm going to put my needle in just the very edge, the folded over edge of the weaver's cloth, and then I'm going to catch the wool as well. And I'm going to run a whip stitch all the way around the project, each time catching the folded over edge and the wool. If you've watched some of my other videos, you've seen me do this process before. I use the same process for finishing a lot of punch needle projects, whether it be an ornament or a bowl filler. This makes a nice, neat finish. And the wool, you'll see when we get going here, it folds over that folded over edge and hides it and covers it up. So you can see how the wool wraps around and covers up the folded over edge. So now I'm getting to the corner here. I'm just going to do the same thing, but I will need a few more stitches right in this area to get that corner held down. Probably could, I've never tried it, but you could probably also round the corners of the wool just a tiny bit when you're cutting it out, and that would probably help ease the corners a little bit. Okay, I have finished sewing these 3 sides, not quite to the corner, but I can see that this is going to be too big. I'm going to trim it before I turn the corner and start sewing on this side. So I went to hold it over and see. You can see that it's still just a little bit too long there. It's going to be more than what I need to just cover up the edge of the weaver's cloth. So I'm going to trim it just a tiny bit all the way down. That looks like it will be about right. Now, also before I sew up this last side, since I'm going to hang it, I don't want it to be floppy, so I'm going to put something on the inside of it. And sometimes if I have a smaller piece, I have some banners that I've made, and I don't bother putting anything in them because they're so small. But if you're doing something bigger, you can add something to the inside. You certainly don't have to. You could add a piece of thicker interfacing or thin cardboard. I have a lot of gift boxes, empty gift boxes laying around the house this time of year. So what I've done is I've measured, and this piece is about 4 1/4 by 4. So I'm going to cut a piece of, this is an old gift box. So I've cut this 4 inches, and I'm going to do it 4 by 3 3/4, so it will be 1/4 of an inch smaller than the project. And I'll fit that in there and see how it fits. I might need to make it a little bit smaller than that even. I'll put the white side this way because you can see it through the wool there. It's pretty good. I think I'm going to trim just a little bit more off this edge here, make it easier to sew. And then I do want to pull out my weaver's cloth there and tuck it over so that my cardboard is completely encased in the weaver's cloth, and that will make it easier to sew up this last edge. So I've got these 2 crinkly ribbons. I think I like this darker one better. This crinkly ribbon is vintage seam binding. I have a video showing how to make the crinkly ribbon out of seam binding. I'll put a link in the description below. But I want to have it about like that, I think. Let me cut this end at an angle. And then I'll cut this end. This is about 13 inches. I am going to use a thread that matches the ribbon a little bit better. So I have one project where I did sew this on the front, and I sewed buttons here to hold those on, And I like that look, but the welcome on this is a little too high and that would cover up some of that. So on this, I'm going to sew it in the back. And I'm going to leave it so that it's hanging a little bit here. I could also sew it straight on, but I think I like it where it's angled a little bit and then hanging out on the edge. So I'm just going to tack it down to the wool. And then I will tie it off underneath the ribbon here. Be sure to click the like button and subscribe below. I'll see you next time. Bye.